ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. Today, we are going to be discussing issues affecting us in Liberia. We are talking about hot political topics in Liberia. We are going to cover the whole gamut. With me today is our special guest in our studio, Prime FM in Liberia, Prince Mulba. With me is my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Eastman from Washington, D.C. Today is going to be what we call in politics easy picking. There are so many topics, there's so many things happening in Liberia, we didn't even know where to start from. But for the menu, let's start with a teaser here. The topics today will be the upcoming or the past convention. We are talking about the Unity Party's convention that just passed in Bond County. We are going to be talking about the CDC-Cop-SUP protests. We are visit to the United States, and the aspirant, Mr. Gongloe, does he have a plan? What is it that he brings to the table? Is it written down on paper somewhere where people can peruse and investigate? All of these are hot topics that we are going to be talking about. Let me start with our host, our guest, especially in Monrovia, Mr. Prince Mulba. Welcome to the show. You are muted.
Okay.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
It's okay, right?
Yes, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, so let me say thanks for joining me here in Monrovia, Liberia. It's great to be on the show this beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Monrovia, Liberia. It's great. I'm very sure that we're going to have a wonderful show that the listening audience are going to have their part to play in. So it's great for joining me here in Liberia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mulba. For our listening audience in Liberia, the show comes in three parts. We will do our introduction and discussion. Then what we do is also we read comments, and then we open the phone line for conversation. We want this to be interactive. We want you to have a say. As we always say, if it concerns Liberia, it concerns everybody. My name is Jerome Gaiman. I'm the host here. Mr. Eastman from Washington, D.C., my co-host. How are you doing? How's the nation's capital?
Hello there, Mr. Gaiman. It's kind of cloudy at the nation's capital today. We are looking at maybe some showers soon, but it is never a dull moment. There's so much to talk about, and I'm looking forward to a riveting conversation with you and Mr. Mulba from in Monrovia.
Yes, Prime FM, our initial and our prime target in Liberia. They do such a great job. We are very, very fortunate to have Prince Mulba and his crew and the family of Prime FM carry us live into Liberia. We couldn't have picked a better radio station and a crew. So, Mr. Mulba, let's start off from the top. The trending topic now, political-wise, is the just completed convention of the Unity Party. We in radio and television and social media land, we follow from day one to the last day where the vote were cast, and when everybody were kicked out of the hall, including the media. You were all asked to leave, even when the elections commission is having elections, when everybody is asked to leave, the media has always served as a third eye to the rest of the world. You are our insight. But I observed that you were asked to leave, and somebody in your crew, I think from the media said, but how is this possible? We are supposed to be the neutral third eye here, and you are asking us to leave? And she said, yes, we want everybody to leave. We are going to do this. Then she said transparently, but she didn't want you there. So you with an insight, we want you to come in and kind of educate us for what happened in Banga. And I want you to expound on two things that I saw that I found to be very disturbing in our Liberian politics now. When people were calling Mo Ali the outgoing chairman of Pakistani, and they were calling Mr. Modai a Syrian or something of that nature, it disturbed some of us, but educate us on what transpired. You were there. You were the third eye from the media.
Thank you so much, Sharon Gaiman. It's great, like I said from the onset, to be on this platform tonight. Starting with the just ended Unity Party National Convention that has to do with elections to elect court officers to lead the party for another 6 years. It was great to be there as a journalist. And so before I come to the answer of the question, let me just do a roll over of how the election looks like there at the time, or the convention rather. What are those, where are those areas the convention focused on? The convention actually intended to elect a standard bearer for the party, to lead the party for 6 years, and also to elect core officers to include national chairman of the party, a national secretary general of the party, senior national vice chair for administration, vice chair for women affairs, a youth chairman, and many others positions, national vice chair for inter-party and governmental elections affairs, national vice chair for international affairs, and many other positions. So those are areas the convention focus. It also focus on the review and adoption of the party's constitution that was drafted in 2010 and also adopted at the 2010 National Convention in the same Banga. And then finally, the convention focused to validate and adopt the 2023 platform of the Unity Party that has been drafted as well. So those were activities that was actually on the peak at the first day of the convention, which was on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, those reports that were submitted by the standard bearer, the national chairman, the secretary general, and other officers of the party were all reviewed. And then we got into the election process as we talked about. And so the election, basically the turning point of the election, was between the chairman, the upcoming chairman, Ahmed Mudai, a businessman in Liberia, and then another businessman, Reverend J. Luther Tape. And then the second phase that were actually focused on was between the upcoming Secretary General Muhammad Ali and another partisan, Amos Weah. Yes, indeed, elections come with those kind of emotion, those kind of feelings, those kind of jabs, and people will throw jabs, and people will call others names, I'm sure, for campaign purposes or stuff like that. So the celebration in Banga was not an exception to that. In fact, at some of the gathering of record, we will ask some of the partisans at the time, the then chairman, Woodward Peel, was dismissed from the party, and then Ahmed Mudai came in. Many of you have defended his coming to the party, and actually you try to say that he's not a kind of chairman that the Unity Party needs. He's not the kind of social person. He's not the kind of chairman that the youth will be behind. And so those were some of the actually we have on his side. On the overall, some of those statements for me, I consider it as just normal campaign talk, just to promulgate your message to the electorates, and of course the electorate going to decide as to who they're going to vote for. So the campaign actually was tense, especially between Mo Ali and Amos Weah, and then the then chairman Ahmed Mudai and Tappet, J. Luther Tappet. Now, as it relates to what you spoke of, that the committee asked the media to leave the hall, yes, that was done. That was around 1 o'clock in the morning and 1 p.m. because the debate started around 10 in the night. And we followed not only the debate, but to reveal the various candidates, and then for them to present their debate and their business for which they should be voted for. That took us to 12th May night, and then the entire process of voting started around 12:31. But then the press was asked to leave the hall, and some of us actually have some problem. We would just be there and not going live, but just to sit and watch the process. But again, that's why the commission, the committee, the election committee came up with, and we have no option but to go outside. And trust me, Jerome, we were out until the next morning. We did not sleep because hoping that the results will come up maybe around 3 or 2 to 3, but the results were not announced on the run, maybe 2 or 3 at the next day, 3 p.m. The next day. So those are things that we saw there at the election. But on the OAU, we did not see anybody challenging the results.
I think his internet have frozen. Mr. Padmo, welcome to the
Thank
show.
you.
Obviously, the topic today, if you were reading what the screen, we are asking our partners, our friends, and all those watching to please do us a favor and continue to share the show, because today is going to be fiery, but it's going to be of substance. And the things that we are going to be talking about again is the UPP convention, the UP convention that just ended. What transpired at the event? One of the things that caught my eye, two major ones that caught my eyes, were when the organization asked the media and everybody to leave while they process or counted the ballots, which I thought were very contrary to having the media to have everything transparent. They threw everybody out, including the media. And then another thing that caught my eye, I know you and myself and Mr. Eastman and everybody else, we have tried to do the best we can to stay away from tribal politics, from divisive politics. But at that particular convention, I was hearing partisans calling Mo Ali a Pakistani. They were calling Modai a Syrian. So is it only tribal when we say Bassa versus Gola or Bassa versus Pele or Bassa versus anybody else? But it's not tribal when we say one person should not rule because he's a Syrian and one person has no space in our politics because you are Pakistani. I mean, this is where we are. Talk to me about this, then we'll go into the actual defeat and what brought the guys to the forefront.
Well, I mean, I didn't hear that, but if that was said, it wouldn't be surprising to me. Unfortunately, United Party has a history of playing dirty politics. That's how they play their game. So whether they are calling Mo Ali Pakistani or Amin Modad is Syrian, or whether they are putting the media out of the hall, or whether they are calling for black votes, or whether they are calling, or whether they are castigating Gilbert McIntosh just because somebody hinted that he might run for the Senate Barrister. That's United Party. That's what they do. They play dirty politics. So I'm not surprised. It's sad. It's sad and it's disappointing, but I'm not surprised at all.
Okay, Mr. Eastman, your take.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. Two people were voted out. All the other positions were pretty much left untouched. It is obvious that they were targeted because each contested position, that of the chairmanship and that is the
Secretary General,
they were very influential. And it is apparent that it wanted to change the direction of the organization. But they left in place Miss Kua. She went unopposed. They left in place all the other positions. So I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to think that we're so nasty that we'll go down to the ethnic level, because those people are Liberians. Liberia was established for all Africans and people of African descent. And we have no time to tolerate discrimination on that level. But I do want to believe that they were targeted to be removed. The organization is going in a different direction. What is surprising is there's a pending election. There's an impending election in I say roughly a year. Now, will this new leadership have enough time to take the reins, bring the party together, to put up a challenging fight to the incumbent CDC party? It's questionable. And there's also talk that Modad was largely financing the organization single-handedly at times. Now, these two new leaders, will they be able to garner or solicit the same financial support to make the UP vibrant in the next coming election? There's also talk that the standard bearer, VP Buakai, was quiet on the issue, that he did not speak on the issue. Well, we do know that quiet means consent. It's definitely sure that he was aware of the palace coup to remove these people. He allowed it because had he wanted otherwise, they would not be removed, he being the standard bearer. So this is something that I guess Buakai was looking forward to for whatever reason. I'm not sure his plans and strategy, because we do understand that the UP party has some financial challenges at this time. So he must have some strategy in the back of his mind where they would get the funds to run this campaign. The other day, Musa Bilate says you need at least $20 million to run a campaign for presidency. That was a quote from somebody who's been in politics for a while. So it's questionable what is going to happen. Is Buakai actually going to run, or will we see a capitulation before the next election? There's so many questions in the air now with this new arrangement that the UP. I think in one aspect, I think it's healthy to bring on younger people, different people, bring in different groups. And at the same time, do you want to discourage your loyalists, the people who have done well for you? I think I would have liked to see them move to another position to keep them in the vanguard of the party. And that way there will be no hard feelings. But we'll see in the coming days what their plans for them. But this is an interesting turn we're looking at.
Excellent. Mr. Padmore,
Yes.
before I go to Mr. Moroba, I know Mr. Moroba is a journalist. He cannot be opinionated. He has to stick to the facts and all of that. But for us, our opinion is what we go by. We don't owe any journalistic ethics, even though we try to be as fair as we can. Now, here we are. We are talking about your lieutenant, your two-top lieutenant in your organization. They came up to you and say, Dad or Honorable Boykai, we are running. We think we have done a great job. With the exception of the loss in Lofa, we have kept this party afloat. When we were evicted, when we were on our knees, we came through and we did everything. I think it would make sense that you speak on our behalf, make sure that we get reelected. And he said, like I said, I do not want to get involved into this. Let the people decide for themselves. Now, for those of us who have been into politics and been watching, just what the Unity Party was complaining about, that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not vouch for Joseph Boykai. And he accused him, and they went as far as insulting the woman through Wilmer Pay on her birthday. Joseph Boykai had done the identical stuff by abandoning his lieutenant. We talk about the foot soldiers, we talk about the guards. I mean, he did this. Now we talk about leadership. When he was leader of the CPP, we saw the disunity. When he came to the United States, we saw the disunity. He allowed Costa and this other young man to move him around, and the establishment of the UPP in the US and the diaspora were nowhere to be found. He said, when I go back to Liberia, I'm going to make sure that everything is put back together, that we have unity. That failed. What does this say about Joseph Boykai's leadership, Mr. Patmore?
Well, couple of things. The first thing is that I know you mentioned where you said that Mo Ali and Ami Mudad had done really well, except for Lofa. But I will call you to a point there. Ami Mudad is not from Lofa County. Mo Ali is not from Lofa County. The person that is from Lofa County, the person that guaranteed they were going to deliver Lofa County was Joseph Boykai. So if there was any failure on the part of Unity Party when it came to Lofa, that failure must lie at the feet of Joseph Boykai. So if we can subtract that from Mo Ali and Amin, then we must say that these guys did tremendously well. They carried the party. They stood up for the party. I remember when Lofa was threatened when the elections, a Unity Party putting a candidate up, fielding a candidate in Lofa. Mo Ali stood up and spoke on behalf of the party. And to see Joseph Boykai today remain silent, knowing very well what might happen, it speaks to his character as a leader. You know, it speaks to his character as somebody, how he rewards loyalty. You know, and I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh well, you know, he just didn't want to be a part of it. Oh well, you know, he wanted to remain." You know, when people, two things: one, when people have shown you loyalty, and two, people have gone out of their way to serve the party, the least you can do is to return that loyalty to them. And we didn't see him do it. You know, we didn't see him do it. And it speaks a lot to his integrity. And little by little, I continue to tell people this, as the election grows near, little by little, we will get to know Joseph Boykai for who he is. We will get to know who Joseph Boykai really is. And then we'll understand why Ellen did what Ellen did. We'll get to know it.
Well, Mr. Eastman, politics is about strength, it's about power, it's about resources, and it's all okay. This question I wanted this to go to Mr. Prince Moroba because he's the journalist here. Prince, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're live. I'm hearing you live.
Great. Politics is about strength. We negotiate from the position of strength. When you look in the Unity
Yes, I'm
Party,
hearing you. Can you hear me too?
Yes.
Oh, there's a delay.
Are you okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm getting you. I'm getting you.
Okay. Politics is about strength. When you are negotiating politics, you negotiate
Yes,
for
I'm
the
hearing you, Jerome. I'm hearing you live.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me too?
Okay. Okay, Patmo, while we adjusting our equipment here, politics is about strength and negotiation. When you go to negotiate, you negotiate from a position of strength. Okay, now let's look at the
Can you
Unity
hear
Party.
me?
Yes, let's look at the Unity Party here. Let's look at the major players in the Unity Party. When you see Joseph Boakai, you always see on his right-hand side or behind him, immediately behind him, is a gentleman by the name of Benetta Ure. Ure has resources. Ure wants to be vice president to Boakai. Ure sees Modal and the former Secretary General Mo Ali as people who were leaning more towards Nyobi Kanga being picked as vice president. So here we are. We are talking about political strategy. You talk about polished coup. We are making room here. You follow me? Now, for the man who wants to be vice president, who also has another faction of the party pushing another candidate in Yobli Kwanga to be possibly the candidate for Joseph Boakai. And you could see when they were in Grand Bassa County, they put the jersey on Omen Boakai. He was the number 9, and Yobli Kanga was the number 6.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a soccer player, it's in the sports, those two positions means something. If Joseph Boakai is the striker, he wants to mimic President George Weah as a striker. And the midfield, the person who actually does the shaking and the moving is number 6. So when you are seeing all of this, knowing who he is, he struck fright first, getting rid of those two, and that basically make the Nyobli Kanga Kemha basically have no more room in the Unity Party to negotiate or to even talk. What is your take on that?
Thank you so much. So I don't know the side you're going, but what I do know of is the just ended convention or election in Banga. The opening session was attended by all those names you talk about, the Benenda Ure, the Yombli Kanga Larynx, and they made their separate statements at the opening of the convention in Banga. However, I look at it from this point that what happens within the United Party is just a normal inter-party politics. And because what I see there is that Mudad have another force of real group partisan behind him. For example, the senior vice chair for administration, Madam Daba Mabandi Babla, was on the camp of Mudad. Representative Ben Fofana, or Madam Selena Mapi Posin, the former superintendent of Bon County, and many other supporters the chairmanship of Amin Mudai. And so the election result, it may have been influenced from anywhere. Anybody could see that as politics. But in my opinion, I don't want to say that maybe Bernard Yuri wants to maintain himself as Vice Senator to the Vice President, and he sees that Ahmed Mudai and Mo are landing on the side of Yomli, so he sees as a threat on him. So he manipulated delegates' mind to have voted against Ahmed Mudai. However, party convention and primaries, I mostly influenced by cash. That one is obvious in liberal politics. Because the delegates who go there, they just go there for 1 or 2 days to vote. And during the nighttime, all of those of politics can play. And so I can tell you for sure, when we got on the ground, things begin to change the first night and the second night, you will see delegates being invited to different hotels, to different homes, and then to have lunch, to have breakfast. And so I think I think that Mr. Ismail was saying something also that the party probably the party may have decided to take another trend by changing the chairman and the secretary general, especially so at the head of the 2023 elections, based on maybe a few factors. Maybe number one, accessibility of the individual involved. Maybe number two, being robust on political issues. Maybe those could be some political reasons for which the United Party may have taken that decision. But the answer to say yes, it may have been mastermind or fueled by either Yuri doesn't want to see the then chairman Mudad around because he will support the vice presidency of Frank Pastor Senator Youngblade Lawrence. I don't want to be emphatic to answer again. And then there is also within the opposition bloc because at the end of the day, the two defeated candidates continually say that they see a united party, they are willing to work with the party, and they are loyally remove the party. Likewise, the chairman elect there also called them to come on board, even other parties in the diaspora and in Liberia to come together to work in the interest of the party. They all focus, they all stressed on united opposition just in case the opposition would like to unseat the George Weah government. So anything is possible from now. You're thinking I cannot do all that. Oh no, if Mudar remains chairman, Mr. Urim will not be able to begin running to 5% because I see Mudar too close to Youngblade, or somebody says, oh, Mudar is too soft. In fact, he doesn't have a zest to go in the root corners of the country during the campaign. So we'll see Reverend Tabet too strict, or Emontwe talks too faster than Mo. And so I think Emontwe is too robust. He could be the best senator general. So those might be some of the internal politics. But on the overall, I can say it's a number of internal party politics. They can play in any other political party. And then those events are always influenced by cash. Take it or leave it, because the delegates will come from the countries to go. And anybody will just play on them for the 1 or 2 nights. It will be there. Look, I will give you as well as they vote for me. It's obvious.
Mr. Padmore here, you are a student of politics, as Mr. Ismail and myself are, and we live and eat. We are basically political junkies. Mr. Molba is a journalist. He has to play cool. But we know in the United States, when somebody wanted to get rid of somebody, you silence that noise. We understood Hillary Clinton tried to do that here. Silence Bernie Sanders and his crew, and we know what happened. They all came out after the convention, they signed Kumbaya and everything else, but the Sanders folks are saying, no way, Jose, our man can say all he wants to say, we are not going there, and they stay home, and Hillary Clinton lost. So it is the right thing to do. It is prudent that when you lost an election to say, in your concession agreement or in your concession speech to say, we are on board, we will support you. But in that particular concession letter that we're reading, not once did Mr. Moda or Mr. Mo Ali mention Joseph Boakai for all what they were saying. Not once did they mention the name of Joseph Boakai, not at all. That tells you about the acrimonies involved here. Now we are talking about Mr. Ure have made it crystal clear he wants to be vice president. Now, all of a sudden, the two opponents that were proponents of the replacement theory become more made it clear that Ure will not be a compatible ticket based on everything else that surrounds him. And for some reason, both of those that were making that case just disappear. All of a sudden, out of 10 positions, 2 of those people. So talk to me. It looks like my battery, something is going on here. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. The first thing is that let's be accurate here. Mo Ali has not disappeared. Okay, Mo Ali now he has a new job. He has a new position. Okay, Mo Ali is member. He is UP militant. You know, so he has a new position now. So that Mo Ali position from now moving forward. You know, but you know the thing is, I don't know if you've heard, but Musa Belete has acknowledged that he's having private conversations with Yombli Kanga lawyers. Okay, and those conversations did not start until after the convention. So I think the writing is on the wall now. You know, and I think, you know, between now and next year, there's a lot of things that will happen. You know, and I see a lot of people making decisions today based on the actions of today. Plenty things will happen. Plenty things will happen. You know, Yombli talking now. She and Musa Belete talking. You know, who knows what's next? Maybe this might be the catalyst that propels the CPP once more. We will see. You know.
Mr. Padmore, we are talking about, if you understand politics in a Roman sense, when we are talking about politicians are gladiators, this is what happens. It's all about getting rid of the obstacles in your way. If you can do it by cash, Moda has cash, Ure has cash, but one cash won over another cash. So we are saying here, my friend, some folks are saying this is not, it doesn't smell right. On the other hand, we are hearing that Yobli Kanga is talking that wanting to go back to Musa ability. The only obstacle there now is Musa says, I'm going to take you back, but you're not bringing your coattails with you. And she is saying that she wants to come back, but she wants to bring the Dylans, everybody else with her. And that is the sticking point I will speak. So how then do you make the case that Ure is not a winner in all this?
Well, there's a few things you have to realize. The first thing is that just because Yombi leaves doesn't automatically make Ure the leader. Okay? We will see. Is Ure willing to step in where Amin Moda was? Is Ure willing to spend the cash? We have not seen that so far. You know, there was a point in time when all the United Party had to do was to raise money and pay off the debt of Brani Samuka, and Brani Samuka would have taken his seat. We expected Ure to step up to the plate. He didn't do so at that time. You know? When UP was losing the party headquarters, it was Amin Modad that had to come to UP rescue, find them a new party headquarters, refurbish it, furnish it, and make it presentable. So it might look like Benana Ure has won a battle, but he's far from winning the war. We will have to see. Right?
Allow me to chime in there, Mr. Gamer.
Come on.
You know, let's face the facts. The loss of Lofa, that election, was a stinging blow to UP. The partisans, members, all of them were very dissatisfied with that loss. And somebody had to pay. Somebody had to pay for that loss. So when they went in there, they were already, the caucuses the people were getting together, and they had already decided that the people who would pay for the loss will be Amin, Modad, and Moali. Now, maybe there may be some talk with Yuri and VP, but Yuri has to talk to the VP on his level. He doesn't speak to the partisans of the UP. This was something that the partisans themselves wanted to do because they wanted to take the party in a different direction. And what I do see, honestly, even though they have an impending election going on, but I think this is the renewing of the UP party. And sometimes you have to go to your, what they call a bootstrap. You have to start from somewhere. This top-end man, I heard him in his debate. It's a young, vibrant man. He's a minister. He's used to talking to people. So he has that delivery. And he was able to bring his point across. Where, Modad, the people are used to him. And then he has this thing hanging over him, this great defeat, the loss of their base. So the partisans sent a clear message to their leadership that they were not happy. They were not happy with that loss, and that is what happened. I'm not sure if Yuri has too much to do with this. I just think it's the partisans decided to make someone pay for this loss. It was not. It had to be paid for, and that's what we saw the other day. They also claims that not enough was talked about it. I think some felt they were cheated, but we heard VP go on record, but yet we didn't see any movement after that. So that may also be playing into, why do we see this weakness on the part of the leadership? Maybe it's time to get rid of them and get somebody stronger, somebody who will fight for us, somebody who will not lie down and take nonsense from anybody else. So they had to make somebody pay, and somebody did pay. It's politics.
All right. Okay. All right. I think Mr. Gilman is having a few technical issues, so maybe we can move on to the next topic here, which was the CDC-Cop.
Yes. So can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, we hear you very well.
Yeah, so I just want to join in for 1 or 2 minutes before we transition to the next topic. So actually, like Mr. Eastman was saying, I do not think the internal United Party politics, other external parties or OSA parties should be blamed for that, or partisans. The second thing I want to say is all of the positions were contested. For example, the Madam Colonel Kratopa position were contested between he and Mr. Mila Katakau, but the committee, has some dissatisfaction with the procedure of Miller or registration, so he was disqualified. That's how Madam Colonel Kratopa went on white ballot. The only two major positions that went on white ballot without contestation. That was the standard bearer's position, the former Vice President Joseph Boakai Tidiha and a contender, and the senior vice chair for administration, Madam Daba Mabandi Babla position was not contested for, but besides that, all other positions were contested for. And then there were 2 complaints filed. That was one from Madam Colonel Kratupa against Mela Kadakau, and the commission ruled, and Mr. Mela Kadakau rather was disqualified. For the youth chair position, that election, that complaint were not adjudicated. The committee said the executive committee will take hold of that after the election. And so I just wanted to provide those 2 clarity.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Prince. All right, so I think we've kind of exhausted this topic a little bit. So if we could move on to the CDC, COP, and the SUP fracas is what I would like to call it. So Jimmy, I'm sure you saw the videos. And Prince, I know you are in the town already, so you observe what happened. So Jimmy, what's your take on what happened and how can that affect? I mean, we're not even in political season yet, and there's violence. What's your take on where this is headed?
You know, before I give my take, I'd like to hear what Mr. Prince, who was on ground. Were you guys reporting that day, Prince,
Yes.
when it happened?
Yes,
Could you
indeed.
give a first-hand account of what you saw?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So prior to the 26th, the Student Unification Party, through its leadership, has gone to the legislature and informed the public through the media at the grounds of the legislature that they're going to stage a protest against the Weah government for so many reasons: bad governance, harsh economic situation, corruption, and all of that. And so that was in the ears of Liberians in Liberia and also Liberian other foreign nationals in Liberia. And we even briefly discussed it here. I also thought that protest was not changed anything that night when I was on the video. I said it, even though it was the right of citizens to protest as provided for by the Liberian Constitution. But I thought that nothing will change because we have a series of protests not only this time. Time passed and we just having protests. Then I make a specific reference under this regime. I can remember even the media, the press had a march and presented petition to this government, and up to now there have been no report from the government as related to what our complaints called for. Then this morning, the Student Unification Party gathered at the grounds, at the University of Liberia main campus, and then marched to the U.S. Embassy to present a petition. It was then another group of protesters came, against them. They claimed to be CDC-Cop, which I can validate on the investigation proves that. And then they manhandled one of the protesters, and that video has circulated on social media. Of course, journalists were there with the audio recording, and then Spoon FM carry and many other online television carry. The gentleman is currently hospitalized. And so I think in my mind, that was not proper. That was undemocratic. Not any group of citizens should counter protest or should even hold any citizen accountable for what they do in protest beside the state security. That's why we have state security, and that's why the Constitution gives thin line between protesting and also respecting the rights of others. Because your protest if your protest violates others' right, you're going to be held liable for that. Why it's true that the law provides that you protest. And so not any group of people must come in, as counter protesters, to protest against any group of people. So that was actually wrong, and it was just uncivilized on the part of those group of young men who attacked another young Liberian citizen who is currently hospitalized. And up to now, a few days ago we heard that his condition was worse. Yesterday was his birthday, and we have not heard anything much as to how he's coming on, how his condition looks like. So that's all I can say. We as journalists, like Gideon was saying, we do not run a judgment, but we just give our opinion. In my opinion, with that one, those who counter protested that day and brutalized that young Liberian citizen, they were just uncivilized, and they have got no authority. In fact, under the counterpart of CDC-Cop, that alone makes it so nasty and wrong. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Prince.
So if I were to chime in now, Mike, after he's gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
SUP had announced their protest.
Yes.
Some people may say it's not necessary, like Prince was saying, but this is what they wanted to do. Is their constitutional right. We can evaluate whether their methods can be proved, but that's their constitutional right. They wanted to protest. At the same time, there were another group that had submitted a counter protest. We've seen this happen here not too long ago with the Black Lives Matter movement and some other right wingers, some other group. When both of them submitted a petition to protest on the same day, the authorities realized that there was potential for these two groups to come in and clash. They've seen the damages that happened in Virginia some time ago. So what they made sure that these two groups must not come in contact, because definitely there's going to be violence. There's going to be somebody hurt. The likability or probability of somebody getting hurt. So with the knowledge that two people were protesting the same day, there should have been every effort to make sure that these two people do not come close to each other, and that there was a barrier between them. So that's one thing. We saw clear pictures of the culprits, of the attackers, and for the sake of justice, for the sake of accountability, for the sake of the security of our people, these people have to be brought to justice. Well, and I think it will show well on the authorities if they bring people to justice. It will show that they do not condone, do not accept, do not allow people to take advantage of others. This will go well with them in the upcoming election. But if we don't see anything coming out of this, after there are well-documented pictures and people identified, if we see nothing come out of it, I don't think it is a travesty of justice in our country. Okay. We have to protect our democracy.
Can I come in?
Go ahead.
Sure, you can go ahead, Mr. Beeman.
Yeah,
okay. What is your take?
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you very much for holding it down. My laptop just went out and I had to switch. The girls had to help me switch to my phone. Well, this is what we are talking about. And as a seditious and supporter of the government, many of you have been talking about nipping things in the bud. We are talking about when you see things happening, it is good to get to the bottom of it before it gets out of hand. So we condemn violence in all forms from both sides. What we are saying here,
who's we?
I like this approach of a complete investigation, because I remember maybe a year or so ago, there's a young man by the name of Marco Tapla Zolizo, a graduate of the University of Liberia, that was invited to speak. And as he got onto the podium, this particular group, bomb rushed him, said he was not allowed to speak while CUP was on campus. And they chased him out of there. This particular group, again, when Honorable Toye and McGill went to inspect the renovation of the university campus, this particular group, again, interfere with rock throwing and threatening the lives of the honorable folks, and they had to flee the campus. So what I'm saying here is, when these things are happening and we don't nip it in the bud, then what we are doing here is emboldening folks to do what they have done. When you saw the folks, we know in these United States, you and I, many of us have been part of demonstration of all kinds. What we do is we fill up a form, we ask for a permit, It gave the government a direction, a time and place where we will be, and then they actually gave us a place, barricaded. You can protest, and they gave you state security. You just cannot get up and go to Washington, D.C. and say, because the Constitution gives me a right, I'm going to protest anywhere, do whatever I want to do. It doesn't work that way. So while we condemn what's happening here, we are hoping that this investigation will be thorough. Bring those who are culprits to book, but yet and still set aside a complete rule by which demonstrations can happen, permits can be applied for, and the government can provide security for everybody. That is my take on this.
Mr. Gamer, I'm shocked that you would say such. Okay, what we saw live, videotaped, was horrific. This
Absolutely.
is not the first time this has happened.
There is no doubt.
This is not the first time this has happened. This is a trend. This is not the first time the CDC has invaded the UL campus. When the program for Emerson was being held, the CDC invaded the UL campus.
No,
Mr.
Let me finish. Let
me finish.
A point of correction. Go ahead.
There's no point to correct over there.
Yes, there is a point of correction.
There's no point to correct over there. On numerous occasions, Jefferson Koji and his band of people have invaded the UL campus.
Mr. Pat, I'm telling you, because I do not want you to
what is your point?
What you are doing. Mr. Padmore, Jefferson Koji went to the campus. He had to take his protection, his protectors, his security because of what they did to Zolizo and what they did to other government officials on campus. So you have to talk this way and talk that way. You got to be honest. You got to be fair.
He took his who? What did he take? What did Jefferson Koji take with him?
He took his security.
Those people that were screaming in the hall were security?
Well, there were other students from the CDC that are also members of the University of Liberia.
Let's stop this. Let me finish because obviously you're not serious about this. Look, let's stop this. We are heading into elections. Okay? When Inabra will say something very common, not one more born Christian child. Okay, if President Weah is a man of peace, then he needs to control his people. He needs to get Ben Togba. He needs to get Jefferson Koji under control. Jefferson Koji is the mayor of the city of Monrovia, and you want us to compare him to students. Even if you say those students are unruly, somehow you want to put those unruly students and the mayor, the official of government on the same pedestal?
Mr. Padmore, you are from the ANC. And it
has nothing to do with it.
You do not have the moral authority to talk about this because you are your convention in Nimba County with Todd Young, Todd. You guys went over there. In fact, Front Page Africa carries the headline of bloodbath in Nimba.
How many people died in Nimba?
Out of your convention.
How many people died in Nimba?
One way, and his group were beaten. They were brutalized. In fact, he said there was shots being fired in the hall. This is ANC. So when we are talking about violence,
ANC did not have a
when we are
convention
talking
in
about
Nimba.
violence, ANC has no moral right. We have to collectively address this.
Mr.
We
Gaiman,
have to collectively address
Mr. Gaiman,
this.
stop. ANC did not have any convention in Nimba. Stop.
You
Get your facts right. ANC did not have any convention in Nimba.
You didn't have your how to call it? It was nomination committee or whatever it is that you had in Nimba with Todd one way being brutalized, the group being brutalized. You were not in Nimba when it was time for your primary.
Which primary?
Okay, so
Exactly. You see, you don't know. That's okay.
No,
That's
Mr.
okay.
Padmore,
Can I land? Can I land? So you can continue with your excuses.
Okay, listen, Mr. Yeah, let's go to Mr. Morva here. Mr. Morva, did you cover
pivot to Mr. Morva? Go ahead.
Mr. Morva, did you cover the primary where Tor Wongwe took part, where front page after the headline, bloodbath in Nimba?
I was actually not in Nimba, but I follow you from here in Monrovia. I follow you from town.
Okay, so what?
Yes, and
discuss it a little bit from the journalistic point of view.
Why are you pivoting? We are talking about CDC.
No, we are talking about violence. We're not pivoting. We're talking about violence. Nobody has a monopoly on violence.
Who was brutalized? Who was brutalized in Lima?
Okay. Mr.
Yes, so this is what I want us to do justice to the discourse and the listening audience, right?
Yes.
What happens in Nimba in 2020 was also condemned by Liberians. Again, that was another internal party issue, like I was saying about the Unity Party, the convention just here in Banga. Those internal party issues, they can come where you see in any way, maybe you break the party away easily. Even though some people might be feel disenfranchised, they leave the party. But with the celebration that happened on Thursday today, honestly, as a journalist, for me, I don't let to live, I don't let to make references or use precedent cases when it comes to violent issues or violent cases or things that have to do with violation of rights or the rule of law. I don't let to bring in precedents. If it has to do with ruling in, the court ruling on specific issues where there have been precedent cases, of course we can reference that. But for me to say, Stu has done this before, and then it might sometimes shows that it's a justification of what has happened. And, nobody
is going to justify violence. What I'm saying here, nobody has monopoly on violence to say that this violence is greater than that violence when blood is being spilled everywhere. Mr. Eastman,
exactly.
Mr.
Eastman. Coming. So let me just land on the one. So that's true. You're right, Mr. Gaiman. You're right. So and everything has to do with Liberia. And sometimes like I can tell our Dennis when we on the show, we are here. We feel all of those things that happen. They affect us one way or the others. Are those of us who live in Liberia. That honestly, those who were around the Mapa Point, the Basic Street area, and around the water sewer area, and even the AUB campus, you could see police all around that day. Even the president was at the pavilions, and movement and other things were severely restricted because there was a demonstration in Monrovia. So it affects us. So like Mr. Powell was saying, or Mr. Eastman was saying from the onset, when the SUP announced its protest, there were no other group of people that announced counter protest. Not at all. We didn't hear that in the press. Maybe other people did it, but I didn't hear it. All of a sudden, when SUP got into the street, then a group of people came to counter protest. That was wrong. Again, the premise you are laying or the reference you are giving, what happened to Minister Tuwe and Minister Mange at the UN campus was also wrong.
Yeah.
But should we continue to reference the wrong and continue to hurt and harm our country?
No, Mr. Morba, this is what I'm saying. Those of us that love Liberia, we are saying a comprehensive investigation to actually delve into why this is happening. We saw when the COP on our coastal did their stuff, they went before the Nigerian embassy and the German embassy, and they began to burn tires and set cars to fire. We also saw in Congo Town there, when SUP went and the damaged car when they were protesting and busted people windshield and people got hurt and all of that, and nobody arrested these things and let it to fester. So what I'm saying here is why these are wrong. It is fitting that the government does a comprehensive investigation like they did well, most of you are too young to remember the April 12th, April 14 riot, that the folks came and did a complete investigation and said this is where the issues are. Brunel came in and said this is where the issues are, and these things need to be addressed. Mr. Eastman, I think you may have been either in high school or at the University of Liberia at the time, and you are familiar with the Brunel report. That is the way to go to be complete. Instead of throwing jab here and there, we have to be very comprehensive in this. Mr. Eastman, go ahead.
Here is my concern. We have a fragile democracy, and the only way to protect this democracy is to protect people from violence, from any direction. Any direction. I honestly believe that this election coming favors the CDC. But this thing that happened the other day, if there is nobody brought to justice, it will be a bad omen. You don't need a bad omen. I've gone through revolutions. I've gone through the coup d'etats. I've seen the army come in and raid LU campus during Samuel Kanyado. I've seen all kinds of violence escalate until we've had a full-scale war for 16 years. We need to curtail this violence. Today, we saw it against SUP. And just like some people are alluding, I've seen issues where SUP went to the campus the other day, the United Methodist campus. Somebody had lost an election. And later on, the dean was beaten by alleged SUP people. This culture of violence and democracy does not go together. We cannot afford it to go. We cannot afford. Let's try to bring this to a stop. Let's curtail it now. Because from what I've seen, from my experience, it gets out of hand. Because people don't forget and they harbor grudges. So if we don't put this violence in check on all sides, we don't want to see violence committed by anyone, not by the opposition, not by the government, not by the hit position, any kind of position. Because if we don't, we have an election coming. All kinds of things could happen. We need to cut it out. This is not political maturity. We're supposed to be able to discuss issues without having to come to fists and blows. This thing is so important for our existence.
Okay, Mr. Eastman, Mr. Padmore here. Let's talk about, if we're talking about toning it down and cutting out violence and stopping violence, let's talk about those of us in the public space or spaces, from the legislative body to the executive to the layman on the streets. We are seeing leaders. Most of the young folks, they take their cues from the top. When we find, I think it was Darrell Dillon who said, if anything happens to me, the president won't know where gun is going to come from. They won't know where Stonewall is going to come from. And then today, as I was getting ready for the show, I saw Yeka Koluba having a press conference where he said he's getting ready for war. He got his beret. His supporters sent jackets, and they are going to form paramilitary. And then you hear Joseph Boyka saying that the electoral process is going to be rigged as it was rigged in Lofa. The Lofa election was not fair. They stole the election. So what do you say about the leadership, the people in leadership at the top, to whom the young folks listen when they're saying these kinds of stuff, Mr. Eastman? Mr. Padmore, excuse me, Mr. Padmore.
Okay. So this is very simple. It's very, very simple. When the government fails to do its business, When the government fails to hold its constitutional duty, which is to protect lives and property, which is to serve, okay, which is to enforce the law, you force everyday citizens to want to protect themselves. It's a matter of self-preservation. If the police will not protect me, then I must protect myself. And this is what you are hearing come up. Yeka Koluba is not crazy. He is saying, I'm looking out there. I see CDC people torturing a young man, and I see a policeman standing there laughing. And what do I do? Do I just sit there and not do anything? No, I have to take measures to protect myself. When you heard the frustration of Dallas Dillon, even though he came back and apologized to the public after he made that statement, but he was speaking out of frustration because as he was campaigning, his rock was being thrown, violence was being put on him, and the police was doing that to protect him. So yes, this falls on our leaders. And you know who the leaders it falls on the most? The president, the police director, the people, the executive, who have the power, who have the constitutional authority to protect the citizens. Because if this government does not do that, then the people will protect themselves. And this is what we are saying. If CDC continues to come after SUP and other youth groups, every time they try to protest, then trust me, there will be a bloodbath in Monrovia because those kids will not always run away. They will not always run away. They will get tired one day, just how the people at Nimba got tired. Those kids will get tired, and it will be a bloodbath in Monrovia. That's why we have to stop it today. Today.
Mr. Morba, we are seeing the people from the ANC, Mr. Padmo is talking about bloodbath. Mr. Former Vice President Joseph Weah, smelling defeat here, have begun to set the stage for violence by saying they want to rig the election like they did in Lofa County when we know very well there were no such thing. What do you say about people at the top of either one of these camps basically putting gasoline on flames?
Yes, so I think what is responsible for all of those things, either from the people in the opposition, people, ordinary citizens, that is students, and even business people, I think it's a result to the system failing people or failed system. For me, that's what I think. I do not think the justice system is working. I do not think the state securities are working to protect life and properties. They are not taking measures to prevent the occurrence or reoccurrence of some of those violent situations across the country. And so at the end of the day, or as a result of that, citizens will feel that they can take matters into their own hands, which will not result to the results will not be good for the states, for the country.
Great.
And because the reason I say this, let me just come out to we, the journalists in this country. Remember, brutality against the media was on the increase from 2018 to 2019. In 2019, the media marched to the principal street of Monrovia to present a petition to this government. That petition was received by the president. He instituted a committee. The committee was chaired by Laura Broblek, Kamala Broblek. Peter Kokwe, former president of the PU, were part of the committee. And all the other reasons of the committee and stated different reasons. As we speak, there's no report on that. So what happens to me as a journalist if I'm going out, knowing fully well that I may be attacked by any state security? What do? I may say I'm going to protect myself. So to answer that question, I do not also support making, statements that will flame the situation by leaders, by political leaders. But on the overall, the state security, the chief executive of this country, the president, needs to take some action that will curb the reoccurrence of some of those things. But like Mr. Palmer was saying, that's not a joke. Let me tell you something about SUP. What happened to that student of SUP? I mean, that former student of the University of Liberia, or current student, whether he's graduated or not, was a SUP militant. All of the officials of government who are in the CDC government, they are written on their different Facebook pages and condemning it. They will always say, I stand by SUP. I'm a SUPist, nothing but more, and nothing less, nothing more. Trust me, SUP will retaliate, and we do not know what the outcome will be. I'm telling you the truth. I know what SUP does from time immemorial.
Well,
from time immemorial, even it's scary. We just hope that the gentleman who is at the hospital will get well and come back to his family. If anything other happens, it's not going to be fine for this country.
Mr. Eastman, this is, I was just about to come to where he came. Some of those people that are usually on the SUP campus, we just found out, we knew this all along, that most of them, some of them are not even students at the university. Some are grown men that either went, dropped out, or graduated and just frequented the campus. When they hear something, they come out and cause havoc. Now here we are, a leading political candidate is trying to play Trump in Liberia when he says the election that is coming a year and a half from now, is already rigged. There's going to be cheating. I'm going to lose the election because they're going to cheat me. This is what led to the January 6th in the United States when Trump said in advance that the Democrats are going to steal the election. I won the election by landslide, and inflame the far right wing of the political party of this country, and resulted to violence. I'm hearing Joseph Walker saying they will rig the election. They stole the election in Lofa County, and 2023 will be no different. You, Charming.
You know, I'm not going to go to the claims by.
You are muted.
No, he's not.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Jerome, can you hear me?
Jerome, can I hear you?
Prince, can you hear me? Prince, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. You're
okay.
live.
Jerome, you're the only one not hearing me.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, thank you. Listen, I'm not going to go to political aspirants. I'm going to the nitty-gritty. We as a government are responsible for security, the security of our citizens. We saw evidence of violence on video, and those miscreants, those people who wreaked that violence on that student, apparently was not in self-defense. They should be brought to justice. We want to bring them to justice because we want to show that we are a government of security, a government of responsibility, and will not side with anybody who carries out violence. It is important for the government to show this at this time. It is for our nationhood, for our democracy. It is very important. I do not go by people, politicians using situations to promote their cause. But this is in defense of a Liberian citizen that was hurt. We have to protect each other. It is our duty to protect each other. And this is the highest duty of the authority, to protect its citizens. And this is what we want to see happen by all means.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Mr. Eastman. I remember when a sedition when the sedition was killed in front of the CDC headquarters, the police director at the time lost his job immediately. Ellen fired him. Somebody had to take responsibility for what happened, you know. And so this thing about where we have this thing where let's just caution everybody. No, a crime was committed, and somebody needs to take responsibility. I absolutely agree with you, Mr. Game. Are you happy for us?
Yeah.
Okay,
listen.
Go right ahead, Chief.
Listen.
And then we can move on to the next topic.
Yeah. The president, the justice minister came and spoke. Oh. The spokesperson for the government, the Minister of Information came and spoke. They lay it down, and we just have to wait and see where these investigation leaders. I trust Musa's ability. I trust the system. Those who were responsible will be brought to justice. With that being said, let's move to the next topic here. Let's, instead of discussing the president's visit, let's discuss real quick the possibility or the rebirth of the CPP. Real quick. Mr. Padmore, this is something that came. Yeah, this came. It came through my phone. Somebody just texted to me from the ANC. They told me to discuss this. So for some reason, it might be in the interest of the CDs. I mean, for the CPP, for them to tease this. So before I go to Mr. Padmore, because this is coming from something that will benefit you, so I'll keep you last. Mr. Molobat, are we looking at the rebirth of the CPP here now that Mo Ali and Modar are out of this here? Are we now about, because some people consider them hardline or very hard liner. They were very hard to the core when they said something that meant it. Now that they are out of the way, are we looking at the rebirth of the CPP here? Mr. Moroba Foom, maybe Mr. Pat, Mr. Eastman, before Pat will come in, because I can see him smiling.
Oh God.
Jimmy, did you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you. Okay, let me come in quickly. Listen, I'm hearing some people, earphones in the background.
Yeah, they're coming back online. So go ahead.
Okay, so here's what I believe when it comes to the CPP. If the CPP persists and contests the election, we're going to see a different CPP. It will not be the same CPP that we saw previously. I do not see this identical people coming back together again. I think there's some damage beyond repair. But what we might see is a new version of the CPP with some editing going on. I don't think we'll see some people will no longer participate. And it will be interesting because, again, the CPP had some momentum, as was shown in the last by-elections. I'm not sure if they will still have that same force. Is to be determined. But no, we're not going to see the CPP as it was before. This will be a completely new version of the CPP, and I'm not even sure if the UP, which is one of the largest opposition, I'm not too sure they'll be part of that CPP either.
Mr. Mulder, are you hearing me? Okay, Mr. Padmore Charming here.
Bring it to me. Bring it to me.
I'm coming to you. I'm bringing a piece of cake on a beautiful silver platter. What you think? I know you're salivating. You are salivating. Go ahead.
The CPP will be reborn. The CPP will hold. The CPP will go to election as one unit. The CPP will defeat George Weah in the first round. Okay? record it, write it down, take a picture. I'm telling you right now, the CPP will hold. Unity Party will eventually come back within the CPP, and the CPP will hold. So just take it to your camp and tell them, okay, that I'm telling you right now, it's going to hold.
Okay. Mr. Moriba, are you back?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. We are talking about the rebirth of the CPP. Are we looking at our rebirth of CPP here? And even if they were reborn, baptized in the Jordan River, can this baby be like the CPP of 2020 that brought Darrell Dillon, Yobli Kanga, and the whole opposition to power? Is this still possible?
Well, I think that should be, but to be emphatic with the possibility, I don't want to be too fast to talk, but I think that should be if and only if oppositions in Liberia, want to defeat the Joshua government that they think has mismanaged the country in their tone, in all the opposition's tone, that the government has failed the Liberian people. If you really think you want to win that government in 2023, until you have a collaboration like we had a few years back, that is the CPP. And then whether they can come back together, they can come together. But with the trust level that existed, whether it would be there, we all started talking about from the beginning, talking about Benedict wants to be a vice president, and somebody say Yombli wants to be vice president. So if there is hope for a CPP or another opposition collabo, I think the mistakes that were made in the formation of the first CPB, and those mistakes should be corrected. Number one, on the document that brings them together, it should be clear who becomes the standard bearer and who becomes the vice standard bearer. It should be clear. And I think there where the sticky issue will be. Like the CDC had in 2017 or 2016, it was clear that President Weah goes ahead of the TK and Joel goes as the vice standard bearer. And so, in my opinion, all I would say the government has failed, it's a failed state and the security and all the kind of things. President Weah still remains popular. If you just think we will go with the same different political parties and go to elections, the possibility to win the CDC government, I'm not seeing it. The only way I can see it is the way you have four major political parties together with a combined force in all of the countries coming against the ruling party. Of course, you can have a vote or a stand against the ruling party in the upcoming elections. So we hope to see that. Liberians hope to see that. The Banner Convention, all of the interview journalists had, either with the former vice president, with the outgoing chairman, with the outgoing secretary general, with the current chairman of the Unity Party, those were questions that were repeatedly asked. Whether you see whether you see the possibility of the CP coming together. And of course, every one of them will answer yes. It is our hope, and that's the only way we can move forward. So, I'm sure all of the political actors are anticipating that. But again, they have to define certain roles of individuals in so doing.
Great. Before you leave, before I go to Mr. Eastman here, when the CDC came to power, the ANC, the UP, everybody was accusing the CDC government for being a party of the Southeast. That everybody there were either Bassa, Crew, Grable, Grand Gideon. Unity Party went to the election, and the top three names we are hearing that were brought forth, that's Toe, Mape, and Tapla. Tape, Toe. So when the election was going on, there were comment section when when Front Page Africa and also Focus on Liberia were carrying it, the question kept asking, are they trying to mimic? Are they trying to clone the CDC? Why is it now that we got tour in CDC, we got tour in UP, we got Tape over here, we got Tape over here? What's going on? Is this strategically done to maybe make a dent in the Southeast? Why decapitate the whole thing? And now it look at the Southeast is running the ruling party, and now the Southeast is now running the opposition. What's going on here?
Well, Mr. Gamer, I don't remember Bone County being part of the Southeast. Joelle Howard is from Bong, my old schoolmate, and she is part of the CDC. I don't know if it's fair to say that there's a dominance of Southeasterners. I've heard this claim. I think it may be coincidental, and things changed. You know, before 1847, you know who dominated? You know which tribe dominated Liberia? The Golas. So things change around. And it could be right now we see very active Southeasterners. But I don't ascribe that there's a preponderance of Southeasterners in politics. I just think it's seasonal. And we're going to see that shift sooner or later. We're going to see a shift. But if a Southeasterner is capable, if he has a mind, if he has the ethics, if he has the vision, if he has the wherewithal to be a leader, I would definitely support him. That's why I believe it. I wouldn't do it. I would not support him because he is. I don't believe in ethnicity would carry us of tribalism. Tribalism would never carry us anywhere.
No, but Mr. Ismaria, correction. What we are talking here, we are talking about, it's not tribalism. We're talking about strategy here. It's just like in the United States. If you are from the Northeast, you have to most likely pick somebody from the South or the Midwest to balance the ticket. You will very seldom see a guy from Massachusetts taking a guy from New Jersey, or a guy from Massachusetts taking somebody from Connecticut. So what I'm saying here, when you look at President George Weah, you look at Albert Chi, you look at Buffer Chamber, and you look at Toy. Okay, those are 4 prestigious, powerful positions that people can say they are linked to the Southeast. And then when you look at the UP now, you see the party chair, okay, in Reverend Tappet. You see the Secretary General. Those are top positions, decision-making positions in the political party. They are all to the side. And then you see Mape on the women's side. So what they are saying here is, why so is this strategic sense? This going election, Joseph Boyka did not win one county in the Southeast. Are we putting a Southeastern face on this party to make a dent? I mean, those are the political questions that we're asking. Mr. Patmo, what do you think?
Okay.
No, Emaswa has been with United Party for a long time. Emaswa has been a dominant force with United Party for a long time. Emaswa should be a representative today. If he had not been sidelined for Mr. U.S. daughter, I think he would have defeated. He would have won District 16. You know, so I don't think so. I don't think that is the case. I think it is just pure coincidence. Pure coincidence.
Great. Okay, we got 9 minutes here to go. Real quick, we were supposed to go to, unless you guys want to read the comments.
No, let's try the phone lines if it's possible.
Okay, let's go. We have somebody on the phone. Do we have our engineers in the back?
That should come from Prince, I think.
Prince, you have anybody?
So let's try from the end. So let me announce the number. If anybody is, if you've been following the show, this is Focus on Liberia, live on Prime FM 105.5 here in Monrovia, Liberia. We here with the guys from the 6, Jerome Gaiman and Mr. Parmo, and of course Ismail. So call us on 07770959580 07770959558 is the number you can call to ask question, to make a comment if you want to, and they're going to answer them for you there in your station. Once again, the number is 07770959558 07770959558. We have a caller on the line. Let me try this. Good evening. All right. So, Jerome, can you hear the caller?
Yeah.
Yes. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, look, go ahead. Make your point. Make your point. Thank you, brother. But all of these children have to join SUP. Then other team will be in different place. Thank you. We'll take another caller here. Good evening. What is your name and where you coming from? Weah Brown. You live on Focus Library Pram FM. What's your take? Thank you so much. So you can call us on 0770-1500.
Okay.
In the meantime, we can read some comments.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Go ahead. I can't read any comments because I'm on my cell phone. I switched to cell phone. Mr. Ishmael, you want to read too?
Yes. Alison Saba said, will Cummings be elected as standard bearer of the CPP new edition? Will that hold in terms of integrity? Okay. And Mr. Sam Willow said, CPP is over. That ship has sailed. Throw it in the river. Okay. And Stephen Slasse, how can you call Padmore Mr. and didn't with the other individual? Anyway, that's all right. So long you don't call me late to dinner, me and you and I may plow. All right. Let's see. More comments here. Let's see. Henry Joseph Padmo, you're wrong. Ellen did not dismiss Chris Massaquoi, but transferred him to the executive mansion as her director of security. All right. This is Mr. Gaiman OTF. SUP advocacy makes a point, but they are too radical in their approach. You know, I was in a discussion with somebody talk about it. We see a lot of militancy amongst our youth. Now, when you are fighting oppression, when you're fighting a oppressive force, sometimes the only way to technique to use is militancy. But at this stage of our democracy, do we still need to be in a war mode? Are we not now supposed to progress to a negotiable discussion mode? Are we supposed to still be ready to fight a war at this point? Sometimes we have to make a transition. Now, militancy may have been a method that applied 30 some more years ago, maybe 40, because it's been since 1980. It's been about 42 years. But is militancy the only way to go about it today? Is this what is necessary for today? We notice that all our young men go around with highly militarized. All of them are chanting militant chants. Is that the only way we can push our agenda, our objective? Is that's the only way? You know, are we still in a revolution? I have heard that if we are revolting, what are we revolting against? A revolution has to have a point. It has to have a direction. What are we revolting against? Ourselves? So that was, I just wanted to bring that up. Huxton Brooks says, Mr. Gamer, the only person playing Trump in Liberia is Weah. Okay. Henry Doe says, Prince, you are wrong. The justice system is working. Yeka Koloba won the government 3 different times in court. Okay. Abraham Corner says, ANC think their path to the presidency is strong insults and demonstration by using the innocent students and the young people. On the other hand, Musu Ya Pega Dolo say no protection in Liberia at all. And Ayuba Kamara said, wow, do you people really love Liberia as former President Trump claimed or not? So, Mr. Pablo, the man asking you, and you too, Mr. Gimme, do y'all people really love Liberia the way you're talking?
Well,
Talawaya Jabba said, how did we get here with all the educated Liberians?
Well, guys, we're running out of time.
Yes.
Thank you for the comments. I know someone was talking about parental responsibility, and that's a great question too. Will Cummings, will the new CPP allow Cummings to legally and legitimately campaign and become the standard bearer? Will they allow that, or they will relegate him to the same talking point of we got number, let him be the vice president and all of that? Somebody talked that these are things in there. We are saying this. Somebody also mentioned that they do not foresee the CPP coming together as it was because of the difficulties of trust factor, and they think it's going to be difficult. These are great comments. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of you. We didn't have time to acknowledge each and every one of you, but Mr. Patmore, I know our friend and brother, Mr. Moloba, has to go. Mr. Moloba, your parting words.
Yeah, so let me say thanks to you guys for the very great show, and this is the only contribution we have to do for Liberia. The little things we see on the video will make the necessary difference. Policymakers will listen to them. Some of them will make sense to them, and they will act on them in the best interest of the state. So it's great to have you guys here today. Hope to join you guys next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, so that all Liberians, citizens can hear what we have to offer to them, and so they too can make their input via the phone calls. Thanks so much for being with us here tonight in Liberia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moluba. Mr. Padmore, remind me, the guy said I should say Mr. to everybody. Mr. Padmore, your closing parting words.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Gaiman. It's always a delight to be on here. Even when it's refreshing to hear from all sides and the maturity and respect of which we deal with each other. hopefully that will serve as an example to young people in Liberia on how politics should be discussed. I do agree that it is high time that we do away with the militancy in politics. If you really look at it, look, the last time we fought a war was 2003, if I'm not mistaken, right? 2003. It's been almost 20 years. These kids are almost 20 years old. Like they were babies when they fought the last war. What they know about militancy? What they know about gun shooting? What they know about the effects of war? They don't. They're just emulating what they see the big brothers do. So it is left to the big brothers. You know, once upon a time, Honorable Carl's Gray used to wear military uniform to the Capitol building for military regalia. You know, as a representative over here in Ifoko, I believe Ifoko, the one I took over from the late Muna Pelham. Before he became a representative, he used to call him General Foko. You know, I watched the ruling party, CDC. They are fully militarized. They wear berets. I mean, there has to be leadership. I'm not going to blame just them. All political parties practice militancy. But when you are the ruling party, you have to lead. So it should start from them. If they tune that down, other people will tune that down. Other people will tune it down. Somebody mentioned concerning the incident with the gentleman from CDC that was killed. The police director at the time was not Massacre. It was
Amla.
The police director at the time was Mark Amla, and he was fired by Ellie, and that's when Massacre came in to replace him. So I just wanted to clear that part out. And last and most importantly, look, the most aggrieved person from the whole CPP collaboration was the person that was accused and went to court and spent 7 months in court every day, sitting on prisoner bench. That was Mr. Cummings. And if Mr. Cummings can come out today and say, I take nothing personal, okay, and I extend the olive branch, then surely, if the most aggrieved person within the CPP can say that, then yes, I know what I say when I say the CPP will be rebirthed and they will go on to defeat George Weah in the first round. Thank you so very much. I'll see you guys next week.
Mr. Eastman?
Again, gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to discuss things that are hot in Liberia. We have a very important election coming on, and the most we can do is to educate, enlighten, and show our people, you know, different ways of looking at things. Violence has never been a solution for us. And if we take that road again, it will go backwards another 50 years. So we need to take the high road. We are brothers and sisters in one land. And what should keep us together is putting Liberia first. We have not started thinking about what builds a nation. What builds a nation is when everything is more important to that nation than ourselves, than our family, than how much money we get, or our friends. In other words, if somebody's doing wrong to Liberia, we have to say, no, we can't be on your side because this is wrong. We have to build if we're going to build a nation, that is how we have to do it, by putting Liberia first. So we can do it, but we're going to have to make up our minds that Liberia has to be first, not somebody personal, not no party, not no community, not no tribe. Liberia is first. We are all Liberians, period. And I hope to have more conversations like this with everybody.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was nice being on the show to discuss issues. As you can see, we have so many issues to discuss. We didn't even exhaust The president is coming to the United States. That would be tabled for the next discussion. But I wanted to go out by quoting the late Honorable Brunskin. He says, we shouldn't give Ellen Johnson Sirleaf a lot of credit. We shouldn't give the UN a lot of credit. We shouldn't give ECOWAS a lot of credit for keeping our peace. He said if the Liberian people did not want peace, no matter how many soldiers you have in the streets, you wouldn't have peace. So he wanted us to first give credit to the Liberian people for keeping the peace. And I would like to piggyback on that. President Weah did not have the luxury of 20,000 peacekeepers. This is our first time being under the thumb of another leadership like ECOWAS and the UN. So I want to give Liberians credit because Mr. Padmore and I, we are always in Liberia and we are traveling all over the country. At one time, 20 years ago, you couldn't leave Monrovia to go to somewhere called the Greater Liberia. You couldn't leave Greater Liberia to even go across the bridge. So Liberians should be giving credit. The president and the administration should be giving credit. We have no help, but yet we have maintained our peace. What is happening at the UL? We want to admonish those who are not students on campus, those who are coming from outside to instigate. We are telling them you are not doing our nation and the students themselves, you are not doing them in a favor. CUP is a huge political party, student party. 27 kids that continuously cause trouble do not represent the CUP. CUP is bigger than that. And for those professors and those people behind the few group of kids to cause chaos, we want to tell them, professors, teachers, desist. You are not doing our children and the future any good by putting them, using them as surrogate. I want to thank Mr. Padmore, I want to thank Mr. Eastman, and I want to thank Prime FM for being part of the round table where we can discuss and make sense. We may disagree, vehemently disagree with each other, but we all have one thing in common, is peace and Liberia. So ladies and gentlemen, as we leave this show, we have a song that always says, we are all Liberian, no matter where you come from, the southeast, the north, we are all Liberian. So until then, we'll see you next Sunday. Please take us out with our famous song, We Are All Liberians.
We are